Eclipsed Enigmas. Mark Hawthorne was an ordinary man leading his life in a small, sleepy town as a run-of-the-mill car mechanic. For the most part his days ran together following the same routine of waking up, going to work, fixing people's cars, going home, eating a microwave dinner, and going to bed just to do it again and again. That was until one fateful night when he witnessed something inexplicable. It was a sight that would forever change his life and thrust him into a nightmarish ordeal. Driving home from work on a deserted stretch of road, Mark's eyes caught a glimpse of a metallic object soaring through the dark sky. It moved with astonishing speed and agility, defying the laws of physics. Bewildered by what he was seeing, he slammed on the brakes to his truck, and got out to see if he could view it clearer. However, when he did that, the oddest thing happened. It stopped dead in the air and hovered above him and silently in the air. As he stood in awe, peering up at the object, a dim green light beamed down from the ship. He was sure he was about to be beamed up, but instead the light just showered over himself and his truck, and then in the blink of an eye the object along with the green haze disappeared, as if it had never been there. Convinced he had seen a UFO. Filled with a mix of excitement and trepidation, he immediately reported his sighting to the local authorities. Upon hearing his story, the local sheriff's department responded by basically laughing it off, asking how much he had had to drink, or if he was on any medication. He told them that he was sober and had been on his way home from work, to which they replied by telling him that he had probably just seen a military aircraft, seeing as how an Air Force base was located a few miles outside of town. Days passed, and the incident weighed heavily on Mark's mind. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, that eyes were constantly upon him. The unease intensified when a pair of men dressed in black suits, sunglasses, and matching fedoras began to appear near his house. They first appeared on the opposite side of the street from his house in a black mint-condition 1950s Cadillac. When they weren't in their vehicle, they were like shadows, lurking in the periphery, always just out of reach. At first, Mark dismissed their presence as mere coincidence, but their persistence began to erode his skepticism. Their tactics grew more brazen, following him to his workplace, appearing in public spaces where he sought solace. Their piercing gazes and whispered conversations fueled his paranoia. Who were these men, and what did they want from him? He had always heard tales of the men in black growing up, but never thought that he would be the subject of one of their investigations. One evening, as Mark was returning home, he noticed the men in black parked across the street from his house once again. Fear gripped his heart as he realized more than ever that he had become the target of their relentless pursuit. With trembling hands, he fumbled for his keys and rushed inside, barricading himself behind locked doors. But his sanctuary proved to be no refuge. Late into the night, strange noises echoed through the house, soft footsteps, whispers carried on the wind. Every creak and groan sent shivers down his spine. In several instances he could swear there was someone standing right outside his bedroom door. However, whenever he would investigate the noises with a flashlight and baseball bat at his side, his house would always turn up empty. Sleep eluded him, his mind haunted by the unknown. Driven to desperation, one morning as he peered outside of his window, seeing the blacked-out vehicle, Mark decided to confront the enigmatic men. As he opened his front door, and made his way towards the vehicle, the motor turned over and the Cadillac began to pull away. Without skipping a beat he jumped in his truck and trailed them discreetly, tracing their movements to a secluded warehouse on the outskirts of town. Nervously, he exited his truck and as sneakily as possible slipped inside, venturing deeper into the darkness. What he discovered inside the warehouse shattered his reality. Rows upon rows of high-tech equipment, and aircraft just like the one he had seen several nights back, screens displaying unfamiliar symbols, and multiple men in black scurrying about with purpose. Mark's mind reeled as he realized that the very authorities he had entrusted with his UFO sighting were complicit in this elaborate cover-up. Before he could make sense of it all, Mark was discovered. The men in black surrounded him, their emotionless faces conveying a sense of sinister purpose. In a desperate bid to escape, he fought back, but their strength was otherworldly. Overwhelmed and overpowered, Mark was subdued and dragged into an interrogation room. Within the cold, sterile chamber, Mark's worst fears were confirmed. The men in black were not merely government agents, but something far more insidious. They were not of this world, their true forms concealed beneath their human facade. Their mission was clear: to silence anyone who stumbled upon their secrets, to ensure humanity remained ignorant of the existence that lurked beyond the stars. Initially Mark was defiant, stating that he was going to go to the news outlets, radio hosts, and podcasters, whoever he had to get in touch with to bring this conspiracy to light. It wasn't long though, that Mark's defiance faltered as he realized the futility of his struggle. Their invasive questions probed his mind, extracting every fragment of information related to his sighting. Because of his noncompliance in the beginning of the interrogation, they erased his memories, leaving him a hollow shell of his former self. But more than that, they erased his life, planting him in a new town on the opposite side of the country. Years later, Mark, who was now known as Victor, had his life returned to its mundane routine. He had no recollection of his encounter, no inkling of the truth he had once discovered. The men in black had succeeded in their mission, erasing any evidence of their existence from his mind. But deep within, a flicker of unease remained, an inexplicable sense that something was missing. It was a void he would never be able to reconcile with, a forgotten thought that would haunt him till the end of his days.